This is a demo to go over the CWRs. This is going to be an overview of the CWR, not really a tutorial. Give you just a general idea how we create batches and send the CWRs, and maybe a little more information than that. So to start, we need to create a batch. So under the copyright menu, song, and then there's a CWR, and then Common Works registry here. So when we create our batch, we can create a batch ID, a unique one, or if you leave it blank, Simply Royalties will populate it with the next ID available. You select your version. Right now we do 2.1.2.2. Any new versions that come out we'll add to do. So if you don't know what version to send to your society or sub-publisher, just pick one. I would always go with the highest version. And if it's not what they accept, they'll reject the file, and all you'll have to do is come back to this batch, change it, save it, and resend the file. So it's other than losing a couple of days, it's not a biggie. So then a description, just so you can remember what it is. Demo. And then the submitting publisher is the publisher that you registered with CSAC. You only need to register one, even if you're submitting for multiple publishers, like if you're an administration company, it doesn't matter. You just need the one submitting publisher to send. It's just to let them know where it's coming from, not necessarily who they're the file's for. So we're going to select ours, which is us. And right now the territory is just for documentation, and then the total songs will fill in as we add songs here. So we're going to save our batch. And so the first thing we need to do is add songs, of course, that we're going to send. So we double click on the batch list, and then from here we click our add songs, and our filter comes up, and you can see there's a lot going on this filter. We have a ton of possibilities to filter down your selection criteria. The easiest would be a song range, either by ID or by title. You can also do all of a specific publisher and all of a specific writer. And in those cases, just the writer needs to be part of the song and the publisher, not just only publisher or the only writer. You can do a date range of when you updated the songs last or when you entered them. You can also just send to one specific affiliation code that's in the system or society, and then you could build the songs based on the previous rejections or previous conflicts, and you can also exclude anything that's been already submitted. We're going to keep it simple and just add date range. So we're going to start the first half of 2023, if I could type, and leave the rest blank. So all we're going to do is look for any updated song that's between January and June of 2023. We'll hit add, and it's 54 songs. It allows you to, it tells you how many songs, so you can decide if you want to add them or not, if you expected more or less, or you want to add more to your filter. You could just say no, or just say yes and add them. So we've added 54 songs, and if we go here and we refresh our list, you'll see it says 54. And then we want to add additional songs. You can add as many songs as you want. We have clients that have sent as many as 50,000 songs at one time, or 10,000 songs, and then as low as one song. Just depends on what you need, and also depends on the society. Sometimes they don't like you sending 50,000 songs at one time because of the amount of work on their end sometimes. So, but we're going to add some additional songs, but it'll add to the list. It doesn't rebuild the list. So we'll say add, and we'll add the rest of the year. But we're going to go 0701, 31. And then we'll add these songs, and we're going to get the number of 84, and we'll say yep. And we're adding all those songs. And then just to show you that it increased our list, now we have 138 songs. So with our list of songs, you can see there's a ton of information, not a ton, there's some information on the screen: song title, ID, the current status of that song, the composers and publishers. You can make this wider if you want to be able to see the information. If you double click on any of the lines while the song is checked. Here you can go right to the song screen and see the details of songs, or you can even make changes at this point if you needed to. Later on, when we check for errors, we can do the same thing, so we can fix the issues as we go along. If you can see here too, there's a total master line, and there's two numbers. The second number is the total masters that this song has. This is my demo data, so they all have at least one master. And the first number is how many you're sending. So you could have as many masters as you want in Simply Royalties. So if there was 10, but you didn't want to send all 10, you didn't have to send them all. So by the way you pick the masters, you can select you don't have to select them all. You can select one or two, or a group of them, or select them all by selecting all down here. And then if you go up to master options, you can include all masters. So if there's more than one, it would include them all. I'll go back through here, and now you can see it's one of one. If you select them all, and then you can actually remove here. And then you have other options where you can add the last one added. So if you already had 8 and you added your 9th one, but you've already registered the other 8, then you can just register that 9th one. You can make sure they all have valid ISRCs, because if they don't have a valid IRC, they're going to get kicked back. But sometimes societies will take them without an IRC, so it just depends on where you're sending them. And then you can also switch this over to master, and then if you double click on it, it will list all the masters, and you can check the ones that you want to send. So if there's more here, you can just check the ones you want to send or uncheck and close that. We're just going to select them all and send all of them. And then once you've done that, you just close this out, and then our next step will be the batch list of societies. So the batch list of societies, you just double click on here, and what that is, just you're picking the societies you want to send this particular file to. So we do have the all-in-one file that you can send that has the 000s on there that identifies the society it's coming from. All of the societies and sub-publishers take CWR are supposed to take the all-in-one file, but we are finding that they're rejected more often than not, just because of a lot of weird issues, and also it's just kind of unsafe, because some of the societies and some of the song publishers aren't as thorough as the other ones, where they'll actually, they'll see all of the territories included for other societies and add them into theirs, because of how their system works. So it's always best just to send to the specific society you want to send to. But by checking all of them, it allows you to build all the files at one time, which is sort of what happens with the all-in-one. But so we're just going to go with ASCAP and BMI in this case, and send to those two. So then after you've selected them, you can do some further drilling down. So on here, if we check the edit affiliation registration status, and then you double click on one of them, it will list all of the songs and their current status as far as if they've been registered or not. And this allows you to change them from a new song registration or a revised song registration. So you can either check the boxes, like in this case, this one's not registered, but this one down here has been registered at some point, so you could actually check the box and change it to revised. You could sort them all by the particular status. All these columns are sortable, so if you click on song, title, affiliation, registration number, whatever, they're all sorted. So so in some cases there's different statuses here. So if you sort them all by registration number and you see a registration number, you know they've been registered at some point. There may be some issues that still need to be resolved, but they registered the song at a certain time. So we're just going to highlight all the ones that have a registration number, and then we're going to select as registered. And now they're all set up as revised. So now when the file is sent, they'll go as a revision rather than an update. Now, according to the documentation, all societies and sub-publishers should, even if it's just an NWR, but it's already been registered, they should still process it as a registered a revive anyway, but it's always safe to make sure that they're checked. And then you can do the same thing for your other ones. So we'll double click here, and then I'm going to sort, and we'll go down here. And if you click on it again, it'll sort it in the opposite direction, so it'll be all on top. And we'll highlight them all, set as registered, and they're all revived, and close that one. So then you can also click on the view publisher controls. So when you double click, you can see the publisher controls. So these are all the publishers that are involved in sending these songs. And the Our Publisher column is if we control the publisher or not. And then the ASCAP, since we're in the ASCAP column, will be if they are controlled by us for ASCAP. So if we go and sort by names here, we find our ASCAP publisher. See, this is our publisher, but it's not ASCAP publisher, so it says no. Actually, let's do it this way. So here's all the ASCAP publishers. So we got a yes, yes, because they are controlled and they are ASCAP. You can change this. You could actually physically decide or physically change it by just typing in no here if you don't want it to be, and then a yes. So there may be situations where you need to do that, but we're going to leave it alone. And it's the same for the for BMI if you went in and updated it, of course. If you uncheck this box here, you can see them all again, so if you wanted to add additional ones. So this one here, song status by society, is basically the same screen. It just takes you right into the edit affiliation registration status. It checks the box basically. One of the clients requested that, so you could just go right into making this change. So it's just a quicker way to get into it, and it's also on the menu list. Okay. So one of the things that CWR will allow you to do is define songs as cues, and we do that through this here. And we also have a title adjustment, which I'll talk about once we get in there. But you double click on this, and it brings up the list of songs again, and you can see our song and our title. And we have two columns. We have the cue type and the song title. So to identify it as a cue type, all you have to do is select the cue type from your list and say OK, and then it populates. So now that's going to be sent across as a cue. You can select more than one at a time, and then add cue to the selected, and you can make them all the same cue type there. So the other thing you can do is you can actually change this song title as you want to send it. There's a request from a client, so if you have the need, they had a situation where they needed to do it, so if that's something that that you need to do, you can make a change here and then hit save, and now it will go across and be registered as this title. The system already pulls in the alternate titles, so if we go to the song screen and our songs on here, we have a place for alternate titles that you can add to the system, so you can actually add different title names to your titles that they may have been registered different someplace else, or abbreviated or whatever, a different name in a different country. You put them all here, and then these are also pulled into the CWR. We'll probably go over the song screen a little bit later, but that's just a side note on that. So go back in here. So it's just a way to allow you to identify the different songs as cues, and you can also change the the actual title that you're setting it for if you have a reason for that. Okay, so now we've basically built our file and we've adjusted everything that we wanted to adjust, and we've added our societies that we want to send to. So we can create a CWR file, and it'll validate prior to creating it, and if it has any errors, it will ask you if you want to continue. If you want to continue, it'll send the files with the errors found. There are some cases where that makes sense, not too many, but it's there just in case. But you can also check the validation prior to even that. Just double click on here, and it's going to review all the songs that we've added, all 138 songs, and it brings us up a list of errors. So these are all the songs that have issues. So you could easily just double click on each song and go review it and see what the issues are. It tells you here, so it'll narrow it down. Like in this case, our ownership shares don't total. So if we go look at our total here at the bottom, they're at total 84%, so we're 14% short. So somewhere somebody made a mistake creating this song. So we could spend time to correct it, or we can just go back and delete these songs out for now. So you can export this list and save it somewhere, give it a name and save it. Of course. So it gives you the whole list to that you can either use later or give to somebody to review and fix those songs. But rather than holding up the CWR sending process, we can go ahead and we'll put our list on this side here. We'll bring up our list of songs, put these in alphabetical order, and then looks like I need to add a delete button right here, but this just keeps you from deleting or doing something more than you want. Anyway, so it's going to go in here, and we're going to hit delete. That song's gone, and then we're looking for Celeste, Stream, Echoes, that one. Delete. Dusty Boots. Don't know which one, so we're just going to delete them both. And then Echoes, Fear, right there, delete. Fishing for Bliss. Delete. Harmonic Dreams. Hellfire. Lyrical Legends. Puppy Power. Redeeming Grace. Tears. And Wildfire. Waltz. And delete them. Close that. We can close that and make sure we got them all. We'll validate again. And we got no errors. So now we can create our file. Just double click here. Let's build some information in the background. Just validated. Put your submit date in there. If it's not today, you can change it to a different date. And then it gives you one more chance on all the ones that you've selected. So if you decide you don't want to send it to BMI, you can uncheck it. But we're going to send anyway. And then we're going to select and then continue. And it's actually building our files. So now it's created our CWR file. So and Simply Royalties, we keep the new registrations and the revisions in two different files. It's just something we decided just to keep it clean and straightforward. So two files are created because we had revisions for both and new files for both. So if you click on the ASCAP and hit Open New, it'll actually open the file for you, and you can look at it if you want. We're going to create a video in the near future on explaining the different information on the CWR, just some real basic information so that you can take a look at it. We'll also have a screen shortly that will highlight stuff so you can actually see it better, but this is what it looks like. And then if you wanted to see the rev, you just said Open Rev and it's the same. Then you can see that everything is a rev instead of a NWR. So so we've created our files. So right now you can either FTP them or it tells you the location or this on your network or on your computer, so you can go grab them and email them where you need to, FTP them wherever you need to. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you before that, let's go back into our list, and then I'm going to click on the song so we can actually go to a song. And then more information that we have on the song screen here is that it actually shows you the registration information. So you can both see an ASCAP and the BMI that we submitted them today, and then there's other ones that were submitted at other times or what have you. So these are all of the different places we register, and it's submitted. The other thing I'll show you while we're here is the information on the writers and the publishers. So where that gets entered into the system is here, and you can see that we separate, just like in the CWR. You get the owned and collected or sync, performance, and mechanical. We also link the publishers to the writers by the percentage, and that's seen better probably through our license shares here, and then our more view. You can see everything. So, and in this case, this publisher is connected to this writer by the 20%. Same here by the 20%. But you can see it's three different writers to the same publisher. But this allows us to put more detail into into the CWR, that they can actually connect writers to publishers and based on their share. So let's close that out. Close that, and then so the last part of this demo should technically be the first part. I want to show you some of the setup. So we showed you the end results of generating the file and how that works, but there is some setup prior besides building songs, and we'll do a full video in the tutorial soon on building songs. Or if you need to see it because you're interested in buying Simply Royalties, just contact us and we can do a quick demo for that. But two of the easiest setups and some of the more important parts is because of the IDs is the territory and the affiliations or society. So in the territory, we have, pretty sure we have them all here, and if we don't, you can add them by clicking on Add, and you can update them by double clicking on the things here. But basically the most important part is the CWR code. So this is the world, and this is the CWR code that goes with that. But if we could pick a different one, this is the code that goes with that. So that's going to go into the CWR, which identifies universally which Algeria is 0012. The rest of this information is not important for the CWR. It's more about payout information. So with the parent code and the grandparent stuff, not needed. System, we automatically import all this stuff. If we miss some CWR codes, we'll either send an update or you can update them yourself, but that's where territories are defined. And then affiliation or societies is this screen here. Same thing. We put a bunch of them in the system, but there's always ones that we don't have in yet, or we really just put the major ones in there, and then you can also add your sub publishers and things like that here too. So the column we register is the ones that you'll actually the ones that you register. So you set that up by checking the box here, re-register. That also not only tells you which ones you're registering for, but all the lists, like from the CWR, it only brings up the list of the ones that you register for. In the song screen where I showed the status of a particular affiliation, where it's set for as far as registration out, the only ones that show up in there are the ones that are checked here. Same thing with the CWR code. You got to make sure you have a CWR code in there. This also lists all of the territories that go along with that affiliation. This is a default list, and I'll explain why default later. And then also this fake IPI is something that we had to do for a client that had a weird sub-publisher issue, but if you know what it's for, then you know. If not, then you won't need to use it. This menu pick CWR information is where we're building the process to be able to automate emailing or FTP in your files. So right now it's just information, but shortly it'll become the ability to send the files without having to do it yourself. So that's those set it up. So you can add more if you need to. If you're in here, you can just clear and add. You can also edit. So so that's it on the affiliation. So probably the let's go writers next. So the next setup is on the writers, and we have an admin screen. Most of our major files or information, like writers, publishers, songs, and other tables, have what we call an admin screen. So an admin screen is just a screen. It's a list view or kind of like an Excel view. It just gives you a one look at all of your data, and if it's a bigger file, I'll have a filter to reduce the number of that you want to see, or if you want to see specific ones. So this might take a minute to come up. We have a lot of writers in our demo data. All right, so these are all of our writers that we have, and they're not necessarily our writers. So these are all the writers that are in the system that are aligned with a song. If you double click on one and you go into it, it has all the normal type of information as far as emails and address and stuff like that. This our writer checkbox is what determines if it's yours or a controlled writer. By checking that, it tells the system you control, but also the CWR, that it's your controlled writer. So when you send a CWR, it sends it properly, and they know in that case. Then you can also put your default publishers down here. These don't define what necessarily goes into the CWR as far as the publisher list. The publisher list is defined by the actual song itself. And in this case, these are the two publishers that are going. So this just gives you a default list of the publishers. That's all here. Probably the most critical part of the setup is the publishers setup. I'm just going to go over it briefly. When we do a demo or a tutorial on the publisher screen, we'll go into a little more depth with the algebraic nonsense. But anyway, so under here, we're going to go back into our admin screen. And it's our list of publishers. We'll get rid of our writers here. I didn't mention on the writer screen, but it's similar that we try to put as much information on these screens as possible, so you can actually see the name of the publisher and their admin publisher, their email and phone number here, CAE numbers, and then whether they're controlled or not. But let me double click. This is the publisher that we registered for CWR. So it'll have the CWR ID here. It should be the only one. I mean, technically you can have more than one, but you don't really need it, as I mentioned before. That it's just where the file's coming from. It's not the actual publisher you may or may not be registering. And down here is a list of publishers, but I want to use a different publisher to go over this. Again, it's the same kind of information here, general address information. that you might have for your publisher, and then their different stuff. So there's some other stuff going on. There's a lot going on this screen, but I just want to focus again on the publisher, on the CWR part of it. So let me close that, and I'm going to go into this one here. You can see there's multiple publishers created down here. So this is the main publisher. It's always going to be the original publisher, but these will be your administrative publishers or other defined publishers. But in this case, it's our ASCAP, our SOCAN, and our PRS publishers. I may have forgot to mention in the CWR, when you generate it, when you select a specific publisher or a specific affiliation, all other publishers that aren't affiliated with that publisher become other publishers, or they're not, at least to that affiliation, it's not your publisher if it's on a song. Only the ones that are specifically for that affiliation. So let's double click into here. And then and then agreement number, if you have an agreement number between a publisher, like in the case of PRS, there's an agreement number, then you will enter it at this time. So let's just go and ASCAP first, and we double click on the default. Back up. You can see here where the publisher is defined. In this case, it says administrative here, but it's the exact same publisher, so it'll go over as the original publisher as well as the administrative publisher, and then it'll make more sense when we go on to the other ones. But let's double click. Actually, let's back up. Let's just go straight into here. So you can see that these are sub-publishers, or a sub-publisher is Simply Royalties Music UK. You have to have an agreement with PRS, so that's entered here. And then under here you have the list of societies for that particular publisher. So you could actually use the same publisher for multiple societies. So you could add another society here if you wanted to. Like, just going to add one randomly, and now we have more than one. Let's get rid of it. So when you double click in here, it brings up that list of the list of territories that were defined in the affiliation setup. But you can override here, so you could actually go through and exclude things or add things. So if for whatever reason you want to exclude that one, you just uncheck it. If you want to add additional territories, you can add additional territories here. But this is actually what's going to go when the CWR is created. It's not going to look back at the defaults. It's going to look at how it was set up in the publisher. And also, there's a CWR code that goes with that affiliation, which we talked about earlier. So now, if you add additional, like in this case, you wouldn't put CMRA under this society agreement number, because then it would go with that particular society agreement ID, and it would probably get kicked back. So you would want to add a new agreement, and then if you leave it blank, it goes to default, and then you can go in here and add the additional CMRA or whatever for that particular publisher. And then once you do add a publisher, it pulls in the default information again, and then you can go through here and update what you needed to update on all of that. But I want to clean up my data here, so we're going to delete that society, and then we'll delete that default one out and close that. Then you go into here, the same thing. It's an administrative publisher, but see, it's just default this time. And then this one actually doesn't have any, doesn't have one, so let's add one for SOCAN, since it's the SOCAN one. And there we go. Add our society, and now we have SOCAN here, which is cool. You could actually add, since this was a Canadian one, you could actually add CMRA under here, which is Canadian, and then it's not going to send both informations. It's only going to send it when you send it to SOCAN and when you send it to CMRA. Let's close this out. After you set this stuff up, we have some templates and things, so you can make it a template and make it easier to build all the other publishers, not have to re-enter all this information over and over again. But that's something we go in detail in another tutorial. What you can look at is the control list up here. Gives you a list of the publishers and where they go, so you can see like a report view, and you can export it here, and then you know what's going where from that list. And then also from this you can see all songs for this particular publisher that it's connected to. In this case, none. Awesome. And the same thing from the writer screen. So that's it on the publishing screen part of it. Like I said, a lot of these stuff, there's a lot going on, but it's not specific to CWR when you're actually setting up a publisher and so forth. So we're going to go over that later. And again, if this is something that you're trying to consider buying Simply Royalties and you need to see more detail, please contact us, and I'll be glad to give you a quick demo or go over a specific area. Probably the last couple of things I want to go over is in the CWR, we actually do process the acknowledgement file. So if you don't know, when you send a CWR file to a society, you'll get back files from them, and one of them, main file is the acknowledgement file, and that gives you all the information, basically if they rejected or accepted the file, and if they accepted the file, it has the registration information. We pull that file in and we process it here, which in turn will update the status screen on the registered tab for the song screen here. So that's, you'll see all the information update here, so it'll show registered, or it might show that there's an issue or what have you. Also on this screen, you can double click into these things here, and it gives you more, you can see the information clear and probably more information, and you can manually enter information. So if you already have a song registered and you know the registration number, you can enter it here. If you have a list of them, we can import the data as well for you, or show you how to do it, but just so you know that. And I think the very last thing I'm going to go over really quick is that there are other ways to register songs, and not everybody takes a CWR. So we have another set of exports here, like the main one would be the MLC one, as well as our own formats and some other ones, YouTube, Counterpoint, BMI, Fuji. We have a Blue Water export. And if we don't have one, we just need the file definition on how, and we'll add it to the system here. These are just specific to the demo, but that would be it, and I appreciate you sitting through this whole video.